Yo, what's poppin', Low Gang? Today we're going to be making another making of. It is currently 11:53 p.m. on July 29th, 2023. And the reason why I said the time and date, first of all, just to date this so you know how far back, or I guess far away from the video's release I'm making this, because it's only been about 2 days ish. Not a whole lot of time. I think a little over 2 days, and it's also late at night. I screwed my sleep schedule up again because I seemingly can't go a single month without doing that nowadays. And the reason why I'm making this, I guess, so soon after the video's deadline, or not deadline, but release date. I went over the deadline. We'll get well into that. But last time when I made one of these making ofs, I was not sure if I would make another one so soon, because that making of was about a whole bunch of videos I did, from the DIY video all the way up to the Mashal video, because I just felt like I didn't have much to say about each individual project. To be fair, I probably could have made a video in isolation about uh, probably the Onimai video, and maybe the Suzume one as well. The original Zade Goto video honestly didn't have much to its production, so probably couldn't have made an entire video about that, reasonably speaking, that is. But, those did have some meat to their production, some new things I wanted to say, but, yeah, I just put them all together because I didn't know if they would make for entertaining standalones. And also, I was just lazy and didn't want to make more making ofs, because you do have to speak off the cuff and keep your words flowing and get into the nitty gritty of a project that you may or may not remember well. But I sure as hell remember the making of this one because I released it 2 days ago. It is definitely. It's not hard to recall. I also have an entire ass water bottle with me. I got a water bottle for my birthday, and I drink out of it constantly now. It's very tall, and I have to piss constantly because I'm always drinking out of it. But for the first time in many years, I'm well hydrated. That's a bit of crunchy trivia for you. I have no idea why I said. I get distracted so easily. Goddamn, I have ADHD TikTok brain, and they don't even watch TikTok or YouTube Shorts. But the reason why I'm making this so soon after the video, to the point where, like, I'm not even sure if it's going to get big. Like, the video, for reference, the original title I gave it is The 3 Days of Strangulation Romanticist, which I think is a great title. But literally less than an hour ago, because the video hasn't caught on in the algorithm at all, I changed it to How This Novel Was Written in 3 Days, which I actually get the sneaking suspicion that that's going to give it less views because it's more generic YouTube clickbait. But I'll leave it overnight, see how it does, change it back if it either floors the views or just doesn't make it go anywhere. I get the sense that the any effort to make a Zaregoto video blow up in the algorithm is futile, which I guess gets more into the more general conversation of YouTube marketing, which I want to make another video about. Yeah, a lot to that, but for now, I'm testing out the new title. So, like, I don't even really know if the video's dead at this point. I don't know how well it's going to do in the algorithm. Uh, and that's pretty early to be making a retrospective on its creation, but I felt like I needed to make this to put a cap on the project, because it took a month longer than I intended it to be. And It's long. It took fucking forever, and it took the wind out of my sails, and it was exhausting. And good lord, I need to talk about it because the video. Okay, so for a while, this video has been the number one thing on my mind that I wanted to do. So after the original Zaragoto video, I made the Onimai video. Obviously, I wasn't going to do 2 Zaragoto videos in a row. And then I made the Suzume video. And around the time I was making the Suzume video, I was like, I need to make the Zaragoto video ASAP. I really want to do that. But I couldn't do it immediately because I was like, I had this goal in mind. I've talked about it a little before. I had this idea that I wanted to make a video every single month of the year. I wanted an upload for every month. And this was the video where I failed that, but my initial goal was a June release. So in preparation for that, I made the Mashle video. The Mashle video was a 12-minute short upload that I made in 5 days that was easy, simple, script wasn't even that complex, didn't have many interesting points to make, it was just a video. And I like it, but it's no masterpiece, right? I shat it out. I got it out real quickly. And getting it out quickly was in order to buy me more time for the Zaragoto V2 video. Because basically, when I say I wanted a video out each month, I mean that I wanted a January video, a February video, a March video, an April video, so on and so forth. A video needed to come out anytime during that month. It didn't matter if it was the 1st or the 31st. Any day worked. And so my idea was to get the Mashle video out early in the month. Very, very early. I ended up getting it out on the 19th of the month, which was a lot later than I wanted it to be. And maybe I could have kept it going if I released the Mashle video on like the 5th of the month or something like that. But that wouldn't really go well with the show's release date. You know, it would only be I'm not even sure. It would be like 4 episodes out at that point, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm just spitballing dates here. I'm not actually sure how they go with the show's release schedule, right? And so, yeah, it wouldn't have been pretty to get it out then. And so it definitely had to be it had to come out when it did come out. But at the same time, it didn't buy me enough time to make the V2 video for sure. And yeah, another issue with this whole getting a video out 1 per month sort of thing is that the Suzume video is 16 minutes. The Mashle video is 12 minutes. The V2 video is 1 hour and 20 minutes. I mean, that's a bit different. Those 2 videos have to be approached in very different ways and take vastly different amounts of work. And yet, they are supposed to take, seemingly, about the same amount of time, if we're going by the schedule. Sometimes you just work on a video, you know, that's just a huge fucking project, and you can't really get it out quickly. And sure, you can shit out another video in 5 days, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to get distracted from the goal of finishing this video that I've wanted to do for so long. And I went into the video, and I think this is a byproduct of having hyped it up in my head for so long as something I wanted to do. But the Zaragoto video, for me, has sort of become this playground to test all the skills I've gained since the last installment of the series. So, like, the first Zaragoto video is kinda shit looking by comparison. You know, the editing is not it's not a highlight on that video. I make it very particular and stylized, and there's a lot of moving characters around on popsicle sticks, but it's not high quality. You know, it's more the ideas of that video that carry it rather than the execution. At least on a visual front, right? You know, there's very clear roughness to it, whereas the V2 video is a lot more polished visually. And that was the intention from the beginning, because I wanted it to be the culmination of everything that I had learned coming back to YouTube so far. It's the second longest video on my channel right now, and it's definitely the best looking video on the channel, for sure. I know some people may disagree with that because, oh, you know, you can look at anime footage on the anime videos, and I like looking at pretty shows. But in terms of raw effort put into the editing, the V2 video definitely has a lot of that. The AMV on its own probably took, I don't even want to spitball hours. Because if I say how long it took, it's probably going to sound ridiculous. Because it's just so... God, there's so much to get into with this video. I feel so distracted and like I've barely gotten into it at all. But the idea of this video being my next masterpiece definitely upped the stakes a lot more, mentally speaking, than for other videos. You know, like... I guess it stems from a dissatisfaction I felt while making the Mashal video. Because the Mashal video was very much just the next thing. It was not really, oh, okay, we're going to hype up this huge, big project. It's going to be my next masterpiece. It's going to be an amazing video. The Mashal video was just a video. And after I made it, I was like, wow, this video isn't good. Of course, I've come around on that. And granted, half the time when I release a video, I'm like, wow, I'm not always like, wow, that sucks, especially with this video. I am actually proud of this one. But, no, there's a lot of times where I'm like, wow, that wasn't as good as I thought it'd be, or, you know, I tend to have dissatisfactions with videos. And the Mashal video was certainly one of them. And I've gotten over it since then, but the mindset I was in coming out of that video was, I want to make something big, something bold that makes a statement and makes people watch. And, you know, gets me all the respect and whatnot. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I think it sort of kicked my perfectionism back into overdrive in some regards. Not as bad as, no, how it is sometimes, but it was the first time in a while where I was, like, rethinking the entire process of my videos, I guess. You know, nowadays, I sort of just overthink specific bits of logic and whether or not what I'm saying is correct. But for that video, it was the first time in a while where I was, like, rethinking the entire editing style and how to make it look good. And, oh, is this script too boring as opposed to logically correct, you know? That definitely wasn't pleasant to deal with, but it wasn't as unpleasant as I may be making it out to be. You know, it was sort of just a pain in the ass on occasion near the beginning of the project. I definitely thought a lot about the future of the channel while making this video. Because, like I said, this was supposed to be the culmination of everything, right? The culmination of all the video making I had done up to that point. And when you make a video like that, it starts to... It makes you think back on yourself and reflect a lot on the nature of what you are doing as a creator, and, you know, your past, your future, your creative future. I definitely say the creation of this video was marked by a lot of introspection in regards to the channel as a whole and what I want to be. And during the early parts of the project, I was very much of the opinion that I wanted to make bigger and better videos. I had this idea for a video in mind that I still want to do. because it's such a fucking good idea. No spoilers, by the way. You aren't knowing what this video is until the day it releases. I want it to catch you completely off guard. Don't expect it anytime soon, though, because it's if I do it, it will be the biggest. It will be a bigger undertaking than the Tomazaki video, and that video is like a bajillion hours long. So that's how you know it's big. I literally resolved to never make another video that long again after making the Tomazaki video, and yet still somehow this is not necessarily longer, but bigger in scope. Like, it would be ridiculous. But that was the video that I sort of wanted to make going into the V2 video. And so, in that way, a lot of the editing of the V2 video, especially early on, was me trying to make it as polished and slick looking and cool as possible, and trying to really up the visual creativity, because that's another thing, right? Way back when I was making the Wotakoi video, I'd say is the first. No, probably not even that. Probably around the Uzaki video, because that had the whole. God, the Uzaki video had a very creative section to it. I haven't rewatched it in ages, but going off of memories, like, it looks fucking weird, where I invert the color palette, use a lot of chroma keying in really strange ways. But even way back during, God, the crusade against UHC YouTubers, I've always sort of leaned towards interesting and bizarre looking visuals, right? Things that catch you off guard. And back in the Crusade days, it was Knowledge Hub that inspired me. If you don't know who Knowledge Hub is, he's this used to make these very 80s new wave styled aesthetic visuals. I think he's toned it down more in recent days. I don't really keep up with his channel anymore. But back in the day, he had very creative visuals, and I really took after them during the Crusade days, as well as a little bit of Korewa Eden. Back when I watched him for whatever reason. God, Korewa Eden quit YouTube. That was sad to hear, even though I do sort of look at his new thumbnails and I'm like, God, I would never click on that video. Still does kind of suck to hear he quit. But, he has life. God, I'm getting distracted again. God fucking damn it. Hey, this is what you wanted. I just ramble on this channel. But the point is, for the longest time, I've wanted my videos to look unique and cool and stand out from the crowd. And during the creation of the V2 videos, when I really wanted to sell that aesthetic, right? And I even came up with this, new idea for backgrounds that I did a little bit of experimenting with in the V2 video, but that I think will take on a life of its own as I make videos in the future, I won't even tell you what it is, but it's a good idea, trust me. You've seen little bits of it in the Suzume video as well. But as I was thinking it over, well, first of all, back in the Wotakoi days, I was like, wow, my videos look so unique from everyone else's because I put character PNGs over esoteric backgrounds. And when I made the Tomazaki video, I was like, wow, my videos look so creative because I put my characters over esoteric backgrounds. But then I made the DIY video, and like I said in the making of for that, it was the first time my videos looked like they did in my head. Basically, the first time I looked at a video and I was like, this actually does look completely distinct from everything else out there. And then the Suzume video nailed that even harder. It was like this constant visual progression of being more personal and, in my opinion, better. My videos, the V2 video is I'd say very deftly the best edited video on the channel. And there was this part of me early on, especially, that really wanted to lean into that. of like, oh, I want this to look even more creative. I want this to blow people away. But as the video went on, I sort of started to see the opposite side of things, of this is unsustainable. Like, legitimately what I had in my head of like these like putting out a video every 3 months that was a complete masterpiece on things that I personally care about. I was like, maybe I can pivot into that someday. A lot of the ideas for videos I had that I was formulating around that point are good and are things that I would totally want to make. But at the same time, that's not really what I came back to YouTube for. And that was sort of when I realized, back in the day, YouTube was low effort. And I don't mean back in the day as in 2 years ago, before the Gabriel Dropout video marked my seeming death on YouTube. I mean back in the days of the Tomozaki video. The Tomozaki video was a masterpiece in a regard, I guess you could say, my own creative thing that I did pour a lot of effort and soul into, but at the same time, it kind of looks like shit. You watch it and you're like, wow, there are literal sections where I just put Nadeko Medusa footage sped up 2 times with text over it saying, I didn't know what to put in this section. Oops, now you're watching Monogatari. It's like, it looks like fucking garbage. Some of those edits that I thought looked so cool have neat ideas to them, but don't actually look good. A lot of the not-so-bot backgrounds, which I prided myself on so much, like, oh, it's such a cool idea that I, make these abstract images in not-so-bot on Discord, they look like dick. They look terrible. But at the same time, part of it was just that I didn't know what looked good, and eventually figured out what looked good after making enough YouTube videos and enough escalating my style to now I literally play Jenga for videos, which is, by the way, a genius idea. I will never not be proud of that. But, no, I didn't come back to YouTube to make a masterpiece, though. I came back to YouTube to make a 7-minute video on Call of the Night's directing. It ended up being 35 minutes, and even the Call of the Night video isn't that well edited. But it turned out to be a masterpiece on a scripting level. And then I made the Urusei Yatsura video, and that video's a fucking shit post. It's edited like dick. It looks terrible. The popsicle sticks were a cool idea, but I still didn't know how to execute them. It was only after the DIY video that I started thinking of my videos as art pieces, I guess. I mean, I always wanted to make them look better, but I think the DIY video is really when I began to take it seriously, in a way. And seriously in terms of creativity. Because before that, I always thought of the videos as that thing I did when I wasn't writing novels. But I haven't really been writing that much lately in terms of novels. I want to change that, no spoilers as to what it is, but, I've been doing... the videos have really taken over. Because that's the thing that has the most career prospect out of it. What, am I supposed to get accepted by a fucking dude at some editing company? Publishing company, I mean? No. That's not gonna happen. More than likely. Am I supposed to get big off of the novels alone? Not really. No one reads online. People have TikTok attention spans. They don't have any patience whatsoever. The only people who read novels are Zaragoto fans, who read, all read very long mystery novels and Maijo Otaro and shit like that. There's not really a market to that unless I make YouTube videos along with them. and market them through YouTube. And even then, the audience turnover rate to the novels is next to nothing. No one read with Oasis. Like, a few people did. Obviously, it has like 2K reads on there, I guess 2K views, but like, no one from my fan base actually read with Oasis. If you did, comment below or whatever. With Oasis isn't even like a great novel. It's just fine. But anyway, drinking more water, by the way. Where the fuck was I? Basically, the YouTube stuff has more prospects to it, and that's why I started taking it super seriously. But there was a point in the V2 video where I was just like, I want to return to Monkey. Like, I'm not sure if I want to make each video the next big thing. And I'm not sure if I even, like, I don't think that would be sustainable. But more than that, now, why can't my channel just be me dumping out my thoughts on shows in sort of a haphazard manner? It was sort of that thought, right? Obviously, the Zaragoto videos are always going to be high effort. They are the videos. They are the passion projects. But I have some ideas for videos that I'm cooking up. I really want to cook on these next few videos. But I also want to do it in more of a experimental and haphazard way, I guess is how I'd put it, Trying hard to appease the algorithm and find what works and what people will watch and, hone my style just a little bit at a time. Doesn't need to be fucking great each time. Just needs to be watchable, I guess. More stuff maybe like the Urusei Yatsura video where it is kind of a shitpost, where it is just kind of fun. The high effort stuff will never go away, but I do want to sort of return to Monkey in a way, But the thing is, unfortunately, another thing I realized is that back when I made the first V1 video, it got a lot of views for my standards. It did well for my standards at the time. And, I was really excited about that. I was like, holy shit. I can prove that light novel content is possible on YouTube. And I've certainly proven that it is possible. But I'm also not sure if it's necessarily sustainable, at least for Zaragoto. I'm gonna be frank, I don't think it's really possible for the Zaragoto series to get big on my channel. Maybe it is, and I just haven't found the method to success. I haven't found the marketing strat. And if you have any ideas on how to market it, and you have, like, I don't know, your own channel that's doing better than mine, or decently successful, please let me know. I want a YouTuber to tutor me and just tell me, like, everything I'm fucking up in terms of marketing. Probably won't follow half the shit you say, but, I still want to hear it. I want to at least know it's an option, right? But, like, I think the Zaragoto videos are always gonna have to be passion projects. They're always gonna have to be the videos I make because I want to make them. Whereas, other videos on more relevant shows, because let's be real here. Who the fuck cares about Zaragoto? 1,000 people in a Discord server, plus me. And I'm also part of that Discord server, so whatever. That's who cares about Zaragoto. No one else cares. The books are 20 fucking years old, right? No English-speaking person cares about Zaragoto. But I care about it, and I care about making extremely long video essays about it that have all the editing and all the prowess and stuff like that. Gain the respect of everyone. But at the end of the day, they're not getting views. I mean, granted, the first Zadagoto video is actually one of the more viewed videos on my channel. Like, I think, I need to check, I think it's in the top 5. I think it goes Onimai, Call of the Night, Demon Slayer, Zadagoto after that, I think, actually, so top 4? I might be getting that wrong. Let me check. Turn to popular. Yeah, so it's the 4th most popular, which is pretty good, right? And you'd think, okay, it is sustainable. But that's... I think the thing with the Zadagoto video, though, is that I hit the ceiling. My video is the first video that pops up when you type in Zadagoto on YouTube with no other keywords or anything like that. And there are other videos on it that have more views, but they're all on the anime, right? I think my video is the biggest on the light novel. I'd have to check. It might not be. But I think it's at the very least one of the biggest on the light novel. Like, yeah, I don't see any others. I scroll through a few, and they're all in the anime, and then it goes to people also watched, and it's like, okay, did it run out of things to show me? So mine does seem to be kind of one of, if not the biggest video essay on the Zadagoto novel. And that's a low fucking ceiling. And it just proves that no one cares. I've already sort of captured the audience. Like, I lost a sub the day I uploaded the Kubishime video. Granted, I gained a lot more. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I gained a bunch of subs from Zadagoto fans who weren't convinced by my first video, because they were like, oh, he's gonna drop the series after the first volume. I don't trust him to continue. Or maybe they saw that it was about V1 and just didn't care, or saw that I used a character, like a screenshot from the anime in the thumbnail, and was like, oh, it's about the anime. I don't care. I'm a novel reader. And then got won over by my video. But net, I lost a sub that day, right? And it was kind of disheartening, in a way. Basically, what I'm getting at is the videos, the Zadagoto videos always have to come from the heart, and there's never any other motive that will work for them. They will not get my channel big. They are not my ticket to success, and frankly, doing them is a stupid, stupid decision. I say that in the kindest way possible, though, towards you Zadagoto fans, because I'm still gonna do it. And it's not even just because I feel pressured to continue it, but because I do care about the series. I like Zadagoto a lot. And I like making videos on it, and I want to have 6 videos on it proudly displayed on my channel as 6 masterpieces a la Zerozaki that are culminations of everything I'm about during the era of my channel that those videos came out in, respectively. I want them to, I want people to go back and watch all 6 of those videos in a row over the course of like a week and be like, God damn, those were 6 of the best videos I've ever seen. And see the evolution from video to video. That's the ideal I have in my head. But, no, they're always going to be niche, and I should have expected it. For some reason, that did blindside me, but I sort of came to terms with it around halfway through the video's creation. It took a while to realize that the video wasn't going to come out on time, and it took even longer to realize that it was going to come out a month late. You know, I told, okay, so this is the second video I commissioned a thumbnail for, and I remember telling Ranjo, I was like, bro, I want this thumbnail done by, like, let's say, the 25th. You know, he got it done a fair bit earlier, because he's a good artist. He's got a good work ethic. He finished it pretty quickly. You know, you should commission him, is what I'm saying. I like Ranjo, love his art style. He did a fantastic job on the thumbnail. I am completely happy with it. And by the way, the video has 6% CTR. That is higher than average. That is like my second highest CTR in any video. It worked. The thumbnail did its job. I wonder if the CTR has gone down now that I changed the title. Over the course of recording this, it got 1 extra view. Yay. And the CTR didn't go down. Also yay. Anyway. What was I saying? Commissioned the thumbnail. I don't know where I was going with that. I fucking forgot. Yay. Oh, yeah, wait, no, now I remember. I told him it was gonna be, it should be done by, like, the 25th. As it turns out, he could have had, like, an entire extra month to work on it. Because God, it did not come out nearly when I wanted it to. I wanted it to be late June. It did not come out late June. And I think, okay, so what I did towards the end of June was I realized that I was gonna have to cram the video. And so I tried to do that, a la the Onimai video. And I was like, okay, look, there's no time to make this thing. But if I just work my ass off every single day, it should be technically possible to get this out on time. And so I spent a day working on the editing for the first chapter, then another day on the second chapter. Although granted, I did not finish editing either of those sections in a day, because a lot of it was me putting text on screen saying, hey, record this later, record that later. And it just wasn't going to work out. Like, I can cram the Onimai video because if worst comes to worst, I can literally just B-roll anime footage. I cannot just B-roll, novel footage? I mean, sometimes you can, but it's boring, you know? Everyone immediately recognizes that it is boring and lazy. And so, you just can't rely on it, right? And so you need to be very creative with the visuals. And for the first Zadagoto video, I did sort of cheap out in a lot of ways. I reused a lot of assets. I relied on the popsicle stick stuff very heavily. And a lot more heavily than I did for this video. You know, it wasn't just popsicle sticks on a background this time. I was, like, doing tons of interesting things with them. I was putting them in the 8 queens position on the chessboard and reenacted scenes like that. Tons of creative bullshit, right? Once again, put them on a Jenga tower. And it was just too much to do in the amount of time I wanted to do it in. You know, I wanted to... If I were to get it out in June, it would take less time to edit than the V1 video. That just wasn't going to happen in a video that is infinitely better looking than the V1 video, and that had more effort put into it on a visual level. So I conceded, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this 1 video per month thing. I'm done with deadlines as a concept, in fact, because it's kind of bullshit how I had just as much time to work on this video as I did something like the Suzume video, you know? Just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And also, another reason why I did that is because to rush out the video would be in direct contrast to the concept of making like this culmination of everything that I've been working on so far, and a culmination of my editing and my scripting and all that. No, just didn't make sense. So I chilled out a little and started, just picking away at it consistently. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much depth I should go into. On a moment-to-moment basis, the editing wasn't really, that exciting, obviously. You're just standing at a computer. I do remember that the way it worked was that I edited the first 4 chapters plus Kimchi Percent, plus I think I got to the patron segment and the Seigex segment a little later, but I was like, I did the editing for those, but had tons of notes for things I needed to record, and then I spent 2 days recording a bunch of things and putting them on there. And then I moved on to chapter 5. I guess I remembered a highlight from chapter 5, which is that I recorded the popsicle stick for that stuff at night with my room all dark. And the reason for that was, well, originally I wanted to make the entire, all the popsicle stick stuff and all the IRL stuff recorded at night with my room pitch black, because I thought it would just look cool and give it a nice aesthetic. But then I forgot to do that, and so I decided that it would be cool if I turned it off for everything after the Chapter 5 video. But then I realized that recording a Jenga tower in the middle of the night with my room dark wouldn't really work out that well, and so I changed it to just the Chapter 5 video. Just Chapter 5, not the Chapter 5 video. What am I talking about? But just Chapter 5. And God, it turned out so much cooler than I thought it would. Because, okay, so the way I recorded it was way different than I usually do for these stuff. Because normally, I set my camera up atop a bunch of books, although I recently did finally got a phone stand. And so, for this video, it was always on the phone stand. And I put it way off in the distance, then I get behind the table that the I guess the background made out of paper is placed on, which, by the way, I finally changed the background. It's an evil version of the original background. I burst out I made myself burst out laughing when I got the idea to flip Lum upside down to signify that it was now evil. Evil Crunchy has returned. I thought that was fucking hilarious. I could not get over that. And so, but yeah, and then I get under the table, I squish myself against the wall and then, move them around. But it doesn't really turn out that good, because I can't see what I'm recording. I can't see the framing. So I just sort of have to wing it. But for this, I was actually behind the camera. And if you pay attention, you can, see that, hey, the characters are way further in front of the backgrounds than they usually are. Another problem with recording everything at a distance was that all the characters are just so tiny, right? The background is so big, and the characters are so tiny on it. And I think for the next video, the next time I make some big project like this, I'm going to make yet another background. Maybe I can do a different background for each Zade Goto video. But have it be smaller, 2x2 instead of 3x3 or 4, whatever. I don't know. It's big, right? It's a very big and expansive background. And it's needlessly so. The characters are tiny on it. But with me behind the camera, Not only were the characters closer, but I could see what I was doing with them. And since it was recorded at night, I had my lamp pointed at it. So I did all this fucking playing around with the lighting, getting the characters pitch black, like silhouetted against the light, having them lit up in interesting ways. I would cover bits of the lamp with my hand. I had gloves on, so it didn't hurt, and I would use that to like mess with the lighting. There's one bit where I only light up Jun Aikawa's face. It was so much fun. That was probably the most happy I was while making the video. That was a 10 out of 10 evening, just recording all that. It was fun. It was a whole lot of fun. And the Jenga tower bit it took surprisingly long, because my original plan was to just have it situated on my desk and then record the tower, move around, stuff like that. Seems simple enough, right? But that doesn't really that doesn't really work out, as it turns out, because first of all, my room was a mess. So, for context, my room normally isn't the cleanest, but when I'm neck deep in a video, it just goes to shit, because I'm printing stuff out constantly, because that's part of my workflow, I guess. And I have the printer out on the floor for easy access, where I can always reach it. It's still on my floor, by the way. I need to move it. I need to clean my room in general, but I really need to move the fucking printer. I had like bags of paper everywhere because I was tired of, like, I'd cut stuff out, have stuff left over, and I originally just threw it in my waste bin, but then that filled up and I didn't want to throw it out or whatever. I was too lazy to do that, so I just got a bag and was like, okay, I'll just put everything in the bag. And I had like a couple bags full of paper and snack wrappers. It was not a pretty sight. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll clean up. But I also have a plaque that my school gave me that is hung up on my wall that says like all the school activities I did or whatever, that has my first and last name on it, as well as the school I went to. And I'm like, well, fuck, I can't have that in the video, and that'll totally appear if I'm doing like 360 degrees around this fucking tower. And so what I eventually settled on doing was recording the tower on the floor where the plaque would not show because it was too high up in the wall, with my I would basically everything that well, first of all, I had to close my closet because I'm one of those people who just puts all their stray bullshit in their closet, and it's normally open so I can access all the bullshit, but it looks like a mess, and so I had to, put all the stuff in, put a bunch of stuff in my closet and hide it there. But then I also, everything that I didn't want to put in the closet, I put on my bed, and then moved the bed over, and, set out this spot on the floor for me. And then I had to sweep up, and also, because I'm a complete cretin, every drawer in my dresser is filled with not clothes. Instead, they're filled with like important memorabilia, and I literally just throw my clothes in a cardboard box and retrieve them from there. So I had to move the cardboard box. But the cardboard box is literally broken, and one of the wall it's shoved up against serves as like the fourth wall of the cardboard box, the fourth side of it. So I had to just barely keep all the clothes from spilling out and set it on my bed and then move the bed over and all this stuff. I just tossed the broom on top of my bed, it was rough. And so it was basically like cleaning my room, but not really cleaning my room because I still live like a cretin. And, setting everything up, a lot of trial and error of trying to make the shot look good, until finally, I just have the fucking Jenga tower ready. But spoiler alert, it also fell over while recording. And I had to look back on the footage and go like, okay, so that block was there, that block was there, and get it just right. And I left that in the video as a fun visual gag for everyone to laugh at. And Pacino did laugh at my misery for it, which was very funny. The part of the video that I was most scared about. So, there were many parts of the video that were scary, right? The part where I compared V1 and V2 was scary because it is a very odd take that most people don't understand. And I was like, how do I say this in a way that people don't think I'm insane for? But, at the end of the day, that's just an opinion on a book. No one actually cares. What isn't so easy breezy is the facts of the situation. Nisio Isin said in the Zaragoto Dictional that he wrote the novel in 3 days. And in the initial rendition of the script, I was just like, okay, the man himself said it. It's fine enough. I don't have to, I don't have to think too hard about it. I mean, it's cut and dry, right? But then, one day, okay, so there were many things that I thought of to counter the 3 days thing that were silly, and that, like, to just name one example, what if by 3 days he meant he wrote the novel in 72 hours? No, that's stupid. No one says 3 days like that. Shut up, kill yourself. But one day, I had finally rendered the intro, and it was 2 minutes long. And I was like, okay, I watched it back and I was like, it's good. But just in case, I know that the people in the Zaragoto the Zaragoto Discord server know a little bit more about it than I do. So I'm gonna snoop around and see if there's anything they say that contradicts what I saw and what Kaku said based on the translation. And, he translated the entire thing. And I was like, I'm just gonna look around on the server, see if anyone contradicts what I say in the video. And sure enough, Hikiken said that Nisio Isin wrote the first draft of Zaragoto V2 in 3 days, as opposed to the entire thing. And that just got me full panic mode. I was like, where the fuck did he say that it was only the first draft and that the other drafts did not take that long? As it turns out, that was just something supposed by Hickey and other people on the server. They suppose that it was only the first draft because he has an editor. And that was something that I did bring up briefly in the initial draft of the video. But Hickey saying that was enough for me to add an extra 3 minutes to the intro, which is the bit where I record me on the Google Slides presentation. That entire bit was not originally there, because that was basically me countering that in a way, but also agreeing with it. You may be wondering, well, why put that in the intro if the original video countered it? Well, it countered it in Chapter 7. I only bring up Nisio having an editor that late in the game, and I sort of offhandedly mention it. But I wanted to really take seriously the idea that, like, okay, how much involvement did Nisio have after those 3 days? And I wanted to really look at it and be, use my brain, rub my two brain cells together and figure out exactly what went down to the best of my ability, because obviously no one actually knows. It's based off of a brief quote, whatever. And it was through taking that seriously that I added an extra 3 minutes to the intro and had to rename it to the prologue because there was no way I could justify calling it a fucking intro anymore. It was a goddamn prologue. Chapter 7 was also frightening, but that's to be expected. It luckily wasn't as frightening as Chapter 6 of the original V1 video. The original V1 video's Chapter 6 had that was a nightmare. That was terrifying to put out to the world. This one, by comparison, it's more understandable, I guess, because it doesn't require as much. It's not as much peering into Nisio's mental state or trying to, or whatever. And when I just describe it like that, the V1 video's finale does sound kind of cringe. I promise it's justified, but at the same time, it was hard to put out to the world because it does sound kind of far-fetched on the surface and sound like a weird idea to end it on. A weird note to end it on. But at the end of the day, I did finally manage to get the video out. There was a part near the end where I got a huge lazy bug and barely wanted to work on it anymore. But I did power through and was like, okay, you know what? The video's out now. Whatever. This is definitely the most fun I've had watching people react to the video. And I mean that in the sense of them talking about it. The Zare server, now that everyone knows vaguely who I am and that I am embarking on a journey to make videos on all the Zaregoto novels, this video got shared immediately by Puccino, and people started talking about it. This is the first time where Hikiken actually responded to the video, as far as I know. He's one of the big members there. He didn't watch the entire thing, but he did show interest in it now that I'm talking about Volume 2 instead of just the first volume. There were some funny messages were said. People did have fun. I had fun seeing people react to it. And this was also when I learned of the one mistake that I am aware of that is present in the video. Apparently, one of the images I show in the Jenga section that I thought was Tomo was not actually Tomo, but this character who appears later called 2. I have no idea who the fuck she is, but I guess I'll figure out later on down the line. But apparently that's not Tomo, even though she totally looks exactly like Tomo. But it's such a minor thing that I didn't even figure it was worthy of putting a correction in the description. I don't care. No one cares about that. I did get specifically complimented by someone on Chapter 7 of the video, which was definitely very relieving to hear, especially since it's such a Oh god, all of my Zaregoto videos, the two of them, just suddenly break away from being reviews into being these very deeply personal video essays near their endings. It's sort of an interesting stylistic quirk, and I like it, and I want to continue doing it, but I won't pretend like it's not nerve-wracking. This was a very long ramble about a very long video, and I think half of it was pointless to say, and honestly, half of the reason why I'm saying this is just to fill time before I sleep, and I am finally getting tired, the caffeine is wearing off, so that's good. And the other half of it was to just finally decompress after a long fucking project. Because this took forever. And I guess I'll end on this note. Where do I go from here? What's the future of Crunchy Bagels like after this video? Now that Peak Fiction has dropped, where do I go? Well, the specific projects are probably going to stay unknown for a while until I release them. I have ideas, and I have lots of them, and I've told some of my friends about some of these ideas. One of them is so secret that I refuse to tell anyone about it, except for vagaries, because I sort of came to the realization that, honestly, I think it's just better if people don't know when the next video is coming out or what it's about, so they don't have any expectations. Obviously, you know that the V3 video is coming eventually, because I resolved to make this series and I, said that I want to continue it. But I won't tell you when it's coming out. I probably won't even tell you when I'm working on it. I won't show any. Well, it'll appear on my media list, so you'll have to know. Or maybe I can just not post it there until I release the video. Who knows? But yeah, I think I just want to keep the projects on the down low from here on out. And, not be quite so open about them, so that if one of them does fall through, like the Bind video, I can just not have to worry about letting people down and, them expecting it and then not getting it. I know what video I intend on making next. I, in fact, know the next 4 videos I want to make. And eventually I know I want to make the V3 video. So that's 5 projects that I know I want to make. But who knows how many of those actually go through, I've gone back on video ideas before. I've, tried making videos about magical destroyers and just didn't want to make it anymore. The Bind video, obviously. So, who knows how many of those actually come out, but they're in the works, and they're going to be, like I said, way earlier on. One of them is going to be a pretty interesting project, is all I'll say about that one. But the rest of them should hopefully be more casual, not so polished in their execution, but more just me giving my takes on anime and leaving it at that, Which is what this channel was meant to be at its core. Thanks for listening, if you somehow powered through this. Also, Lord help you if you made it this far. Jesus Christ. At least this isn't longer than the actual V2 video. Anyway, see ya.